Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production Grid YouTube, and welcome to another Friday review. And today I am here to review Black and Gold, which is the fifth full-length album from Thundermother, who are a all-women hard rock band from Sweden. This was released through AFM Records on August 19th. Now, just about 2 weeks ago, I had seen Thundermother, of course, play with Scorpions on, of course, the Rock Believer Tour at the Save Mart Center. Again, that was October 7th, and of course, I have a video review which I show footage as well of Thundermother and their set list. At least some songs. Either way, without further ado, let me get into my overall thoughts on Black and Gold, the fifth album from Thundermother. Okay, before I really do, get into my overall thoughts on this particular album, you know what I have to do? I have to do a track listing rundown so I can tell you folks where the songs were on this album, how many songs were on this album, and what's the time length for this album. And since there's at least 12 songs here, it all clocks in at the length of 43 minutes and 2 seconds. So, these 12 songs are beginning with Light in the Sky, the title track, Raise Your Hand, Hot Mess, Wasted, which is not a Def Leppard cover, though that kind of would have been pretty cool. But either way, it's their original track. Watch Out, I Don't Know You, Looks No Hooks, Loud and Free, Try With Love, Stratosphere, and then finally ending with Borrowed Time, which is not a Diamond Head cover, and it is definitely not a AC/DC cover. It is definitely a song of their own. So there you go, folks. There's your 12 songs. Now, it's crazy that it took me this long to really kind of get in, or just really check out more from Thundermother. Again, a band that I have been very much aware of for a very long time, ever since their very first album from 2014. Again, to kind of go through a little bit of history, this band was formed by the guitar player from Thundermother, that being Felipe Nazul, who has been the most consistent member of the band. And she formed it probably sometime in maybe 2012, 2013, sometime around then, before the very first album in 2014, which was a very different lineup than what we have here. The lineup that we kind of see ended up at least debuting on the self-titled album from 2018, which you can say was sort of almost a restart of Thundermother. And that was the debut for the new singer, Granica Massini. Hope I pronounced her name correctly. And so she's been with the band since 2018, since, again, the debut album, possibly maybe 2017, not quite sure there, but she did debut on the self-titled album from 2018. And then, of course, we again, Emily Johansson have been with the band, I think, prior to 2018. Again, that being the drummer for Thundermother. But this is the debut album for the new bass player, Mona Lindgren. So, there you go. So it's crazy that it took me this long to really kind of get into Thundermother, but I've at least here and there for over the years at least checked out some songs from them. And again, it's a just solid, straightforward rock and roll, and I guess you can say in the AC/DC Airborne tradition. In a way, actually, I'm not the first one to make comparisons to Airborne. And in a way, since Girl School were kind of seen as the female counterpart to Motorhead, I'd say Thundermother are these days the female counterpart to Airborne. The only difference is that Airborne are from Australia and Thundermother are from Sweden, but they're that same just a very similar aspect there. But either way, they definitely play a pretty just a solid, straightforward form of just straight classic hard rock, but yet there's a little bit of a modern touch to it. And that's definitely mostly really apparent on this album, since I think the previous couple of albums definitely had more of just a more raw approach to the songwriting. But I guess since Heat Wave from 2020, which was their debut on AFM Records, And since I think it's the first one to be produced by San Andersen, hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Again, he's a Danish guitar player who has produced some of the last couple of Tigers of Pantang albums. He really gives them, this might be the beginning of a more accessible turn in the band, because of this album might be their most accessible album. And again, due to, of course, San Andersen's production, which is very massive, very clean and bright, and the music itself, I mean, there's a lot of rockers on here, but they are definitely built with tons of melodies, and they have hooks that just make them catchy. And they definitely have plenty of attitude and personality to these songs. Again, as far as just the straight rockers on here, I mean, it opens up with Light in the Sky, for one, just kind of has almost a southern feel going on with this one that I get. And probably due to the fact that Guernica's very soulful voice and still has enough grit and rasp to them that kind of make these songs work. But it's just, I just get that from the first song. But as you get into, of course, the title track, and of course, Raise Your Hands, Wasted, and Watch Out, which is probably the closest one, the more faster songs in here. This one definitely has that airborne AC/DC aspect to it, or whatever. It's got that groove going on to this song, and it's just a straight rocker. And of course, I Don't Know You, which is definitely very apparent in the AC/DC influence on this one. Really, it's really apparent on this track. Then, of course, Loud and Free is another one that's got that very airborne sort of style rocking feel to it, and groove and beat, just all within this song. And that's about it. The same thing goes for Stratosphere, which this one's that they play around, especially with, this is where a lot of the vocal harmonies really come in, the layered vocals really come into these songs, especially on Stratosphere. And it's a straight up rocker, and Philippa definitely plays around with the really cool sort of guitar sounds and everything. She really kind of, and different notes and vibrato, and it just really makes things so cool and interesting, where I can hear the Scorpions and Michael Schenker kind of influence, just the way it just plays around with something that kind of fits the theme of the song. But there's a lot of just great hard rockers on here. But again, I would say probably the closest, being the heaviest song on here, is Try With Love. It is definitely the heaviest song on the album, due to the fact that the gain really got turned up really high on this one. And it had definitely really pushed the song, again, the pedal to the metal on this track. And it definitely really makes it pretty heavy. So this song and Watch Out are probably two of the album's heavier songs on here, but they're all very great rockers. So this album has that going for it. So there's plenty of good rockers in there. But again, they are built around, again, like I stated, with tons of melody, a lot of the layered vocals, and plentiful of harmonies on here. Again, a lot of drive to be found on here. And to really kind of also go into the lyrics, for the most part, they were definitely written with plenty of attitude, but also with positivity and pride. And you really get that too in some of these songs, is that sort of positive note. Again, the very attitude that you get from this band definitely heard in, for the most part, in songs like Wasted and Watch Out, and of course I Don't Know You, and Loud and Free. Again, there's a lot of that attitude really heard in some of these songs, but there's definitely the very positive vibes within the lyrics are pretty much heard in like Light in the Sky, the title track, and Raise Your Hands, and even, of course, Try With Love, and of course the ballads on here too, which I'll get into in a minute. I even forgot to mention that even Look Still Hooks really kind of plays around with their attitude, and it kind of just fits the personality of the band here. But to kind of get into the ballads here, is that there are two ballads on here, one of which is the song Hot Mess, which again, this is not really it's more of a bluesy, very melodic bluesy ballad in a way, because of it's more guitar driven, but it is definitely still a pretty well written ballad in its own right. And I think it fits those qualities of what I find to be a ballad. It fits those qualities, and it's definitely heard with in that song. And the message that it gives out is, again, it's very moving. Even for a man, it's a very moving track, and I just can't help but be touched by at least the lyrics in the song Hot Mess. However, it's the final track, Borrowed Time, that I find to be the album's crowning ballad. And it's the one that ends the album, and it ends it perfectly. There is just so much emotion in this track to where you can feel the passion in these. And again, it is very much heard in Borrowed Time. And again, it just bleeds all of that emotion, and you really get that on the song Borrowed Time here. It's just what a great freaking track this is. And the way it begins with the very acoustic notes and stuff, and it is very melancholic. This is the true ballad of the album. It's just a great, well-written track, and Guernica is just a fabulous singer. My God, she can sing her ass off. I mean, if you think she sounds great on this album, wait until you see her live, because she sounds just as great live than she does on this album. It's just that's the one thing, too, that I took away from this album, is just that every time I listen to it, I just am just mesmerized by her vocal abilities. It's just fucking incredible. She has an amazing range for just for her, and goddamn, and I've heard plenty of great female singers, but even it's just great singers these days, she should be put up there as one of the top best. My God, she's just freaking great. She can just sing her ass off, but you really get the best of Guernica too, in especially in the ballads, and especially on Borrowed Time, and she just owns these songs, and the whole band too. Again, just those vocal harmonies, and they're just so fucking great, and the melodies. Oh my God, it's like they know how to blend the style in between, still being raw and still have a lot of that attitude to them, but they also can show that they still can have a lot of that emotion and make the listener feel that emotion, and they just bleed through these songs. And really, there's really nothing bad I can really say about this at all. It's like, after weeks of listening to this album, I just find a lot of enjoyment in these, and the stuff that you would think could be the weakest points of the album have a lot of strengths to them as well. There's just so much on here. Even for what could be the most accessible album, they able to make something out of that accessibility and still make it tight. And that's one of the biggest takeaways I get from here. It's just that the songwriting is freaking solid. They are just catchy tracks. But again, due to the personality of the band and the lyrics, it's just perfect. So I can't say anything else about this album. It's just what a great, well-written album. So that's where I'm at, folks. There's my overall thoughts on this album right here, that being Black and Gold. And my overall rating is, since I tossed my notebook there, which again, I've pretty much written the majority of some of my thoughts on that book to begin with, I'm giving it a 9.90 out of 10. To me, even though I haven't really heard any of their albums, the previous albums in full to begin with, this album just alone is enough to make me just already an instant fan of these badass women. And I'm definitely going to go backwards and get a hold of some of those albums. And I'm just going to enjoy them just as much as this here. So again, this might be their most accessible, but you know what? This is a really good example of a great accessible modern day hard rock album from women who probably deserve every bit of accolade at this point. Just great songwriters, great musicians, and this great personalities. So there you go. I'm not going to leave you any link to where to get the sound because you could probably find this on Amazon and so on. And if they're still coming towards a arena near you, go check them out, especially for Scorpions. But there we go. So, hope all of you enjoyed. This is Heavy Thrash Sing I'm Out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.